Look. Creep.
What's the deal, y'all? Twisted exclusive Vault Session interview. Back with another episode. I'm here with Sean, aka one of the new creatives that I met, fashion designers around the city. You know what's going on, bro?
Shit, man, I'm here. Feeling great, feeling blessed. Thank you for having me.
You know, you got your studio around here. You with the guys over here, man.
The homies.
What up, yo?
You know, so we gonna get down to this interview, man. Let us know like who you are, the influence and stuff like that. Anything you want to talk about, all right?
Yeah, man, for sure.
So, what made you want to start doing fashion?
So basically, I started getting into fashion around high school, around 10th grade. Back then, I used to dress in the exact same stuff, like blue jeans, same like black hoodie and everything like that, and just like some beat up ass shoes. And some of my homies, they were always telling me like, you gotta step your steez up, you gotta, just up your fits and everything. And just throughout time, I started collecting, different pieces. I would just start off with like the cheapest stuff from like Wrangler jeans to just, really basic stuff. Got into shoes for a short time, like all the Jordans. And then not long after, I started getting into a lot of streetwear. And obviously I think the two main pillars of streetwear are for sure Bape and Supreme, especially in that time around 2016, 2017. I had a big hold on everybody. And, I saw it and looked at it and I'm like, this is something I feel like I could do. It's easy enough to persuade a group of people to wear a certain brand. And I just felt like I had that kind of, style to do that.
So with that being like your, idea based on how you want to do your things and everything like that, was creating fashion like clothes and streetwear like your first thing you wanted to do growing up, or like, what was it?
Basically, growing up as a kid, I kind of took after my parents because my parents owned their own business. They had a bakery, and I just knew growing up I wanted to have my own business. So just all throughout my years, I would have different businesses. Selling candy at school, small little things, and just making money off that. But for some reason, I guess clothing just always stuck with me. And now, I'm not really in it for the money anymore. I'm more in it for the craft and just the whole progress of it.
So not the money aspect, that means that you must care about it more, because a lot of people our age, we're a little older now, we, want to make money obviously for things like that, but the love for what you do, whether that's creating clothes, painting or doing music, whatever it is, the money comes like second, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
So what was the first like design that you did where you kind of figured like, I can kind of do this, on a regular basis?
So I took a lot of inspiration from different designers. I think the main one was Raf Simons at the time. So I thought the most coolest thing would be to buy a couple sweaters, a couple button-ups and everything like that, and just heat press some like printed photos of people, just anybody on those pieces, and sell it as my own. Kind of on like some bite-off shit, but more so just for me than anybody else.
Okay, so was this like in high school when this happened, or was like this after high school?
Yeah, this is during high school. This is, I believe, my junior year. So that was around 2018. So
okay, so you started out pretty early in high school, because a lot of us in high school, they kind of, it's the whole, you gonna go to school, you gonna go to college, like that's the kind of, because they can't like teach us entrepreneurship necessarily and whatnot. So growing up, like, back to like the backstory a little bit, like, was your friends like encouraging you a lot to do that stuff, or like, what was like the thing? Like, did they make the jokes? Did the jokes get to you? Like, what was the thing for real?
When I was first starting, I guess people didn't really take me seriously. I showed them some mock-ups and everything, told them I was gonna make this, and they were like, okay, whatever, we don't care. But then once I really started doing it, and I got my little 5 seconds of fame in high school, people just immediately started riding my wave and being like, oh yeah, you make such cool pieces, like, can I get one?
Type stuff.
Just
what high school you go to, bro? Is it around here?
Yeah, it's in Michigan. I prefer not to say because I'm kind of embarrassed to go there. So I'd really rather not say where I went, but it was a very white town and just a very white school in general. And I just could not wait to graduate, so I'd have to go back.
So when you like finished like, and you were doing like the fashion thing around, were some of the kids like trying to like, you know, be cool after high school with the way that you had, or like was you kind of just like saying like F it?
So like, could you elaborate on that?
Like, you know how you finished school, you bet you weren't cool with it coming around like, you know, oh, I see you popping now, you got this brand, like stuff like the typical,
okay,
you know.
okay. Yeah,
no, just literally like, you know, people that the fake love, you know.
Yeah, definitely. That actually kind of started happening a bit more recently. I'd say maybe around 2021 is where I started seeing old people, old friends, you know, old classmates and shit pop up on my DMs, you know, some of them have my old number and shit, and they would be like, oh yeah, you know, I just want to say I'm proud of you, you know, you're doing big things, and it's like, we haven't talked in like 3-4 years, and you're trying to say you're proud of me, like, you don't know me, man, like, sorry, but, you know, it's like.
I mean, that's how it is though, like, you know, I made a tweet, you know, just because we went to high school, like middle school, like, that I mean, like, we like gang and we cool, because like 17-year-old you is completely different from who you are now, or 15-year-old you, because like we were young, we were doing dumb stuff, we didn't like, you know, now you're mature, we older now, we're grown, so like, you know, people who come around like that, it's just, you know, they just gotta block that stuff out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't really like say that to them, really. I really just kind of say, you know, like, thank you, I appreciate it, you know, hope you're doing well, and that's.
Keep it at that, you know?
You know, just, you know, be respectful, you know, always treat others how you want to be treated. So obviously, I'm gonna say something respectful to them, but also respectfully, I don't want you to kind of start getting into my life and asking me a bunch of questions.
Feeling like, you know, they've been around for like what you've been up to.
You know, I just don't like that.
For sure. So, I don't know about like you, but during like COVID, were you like creating, or were you kind of just, you know, chilling around?
Yeah, I think honestly during COVID was my peak of creativity, because that's when I first released my gun club shirts, and those blew up. I gave I think I gave all my profits actually to the BLM organization, because.
Oh, word, that's dope.
Yeah, you know, just because everything that was happening, I feel like I just need to contribute, because, you know, I was so delved into the culture that I had to give back, and I feel like that was my time. And during that time, we're all getting money, so it's like, I'm not a greedy person, you know, do what you need to do, and I'm gonna give back. So that was definitely a big time, and it was honestly, during the whole quarantine stuff, it was probably the best time of my whole career.
Do you think that was the most like time where you like figured out what you wanted, like thought process wise, stuff like that?
I wouldn't say that. It was just definitely a great time to create, because I had nothing else to do but create. But I think it did like help me find who I am more, because around the time I did get my first sewing machine and I learned how to sew in that whole era. And I feel like just doing that first off, and, you know, just have nothing but time to work and understand how sewing works, kind of pushed me to who I am today and what my brand is today.
Okay, so 2023, you fast forward a couple years after that. What like show would you say like put you on the map from like quarantine like to now?
You said what put me on the map?
Like what like fashion show or like event you think kind of like pushed your brand a lot?
Okay. 2023. I feel like it was two actually. It was definitely one that I held, or not one that I held, but one that I did in Georgia. My great friend Sophia Moussier, she was actually holding it, and she invited me to come down to Atlanta, and she said, you know, I want you to be part of the show. And I got the love I got down there was amazing. You know, it was like seeing the love I got here was nothing compared to what I got down there. You know, everybody was cheering for me. It just felt super overwhelming. And the second one was definitely the one I did up at MSU called N Crowd.
Shout out to N Crowd. I got some friends on that.
Shout out to N Crowd. That was honestly the most fun show I did. That was probably like, out of all of them, that was my favorite show because the models were super sweet, super nice, super understanding, and I just really loved the whole vibe of it. It made me feel so like welcomed also. So those two, and you know, like I said, both those shows I got a large amount of love from.
Okay. So did you go like to the show like with your brand you have like on your shirt? Like was that the whole thing?
Sorry?
Like the brand you have on like your shirt, the brand. So like where did that name come from?
Oh, so there's actually quite a bit of history behind the name Yuri Studios. So it's so simple, but also it sounds so complex. But you know, I was looking up names for the longest time, and not a lot of people know this, but this was not my first name that I went with. I actually had a rebrand very early on, and I started as Iconic Clothing, and it was like Icon YC, so it was like, you know, New York City in there, because I just took so much inspiration from New York. And the more I was like looking at the name, the more I was thinking about it, I'm like, this seems very artificial. It's not me. I'm obviously not from New York, so I try to look up different things, you know, studying the names of all the other famous brands, you know, Balenciaga, Raf Simons, you know, eponymous labels, strangely named labels and stuff like that. And I think the one that really stuck out to me at the time was Venmo, because, you know, it was such a cool name, and everybody was asking, like, you know, what does Venmo mean? And it's actually just clothes in Parisian, which is, I think, like the most funniest thing. It's like, you know, you have this crazy sounding name, but when you translate it, it's just what it is, clothes.
Straight to the point.
Yeah, so I'll say I took inspiration from that because Yuri actually means clothing in Japanese. So my whole brand name is literally just Clothing Studios when you just simplify it. So like I said, you know, it sounds very complex. I get the question all the time, what does Yuri Studios mean? And every time I just tell them, it just means Clothing Studios.
You know, they're probably like, you know, it's probably, you know, real specific, real, you know, detailed, but like,
they think it's all
sometimes when it's just simple like that,
Definitely.
It makes it easier and people, you know, attract to it. Because like me, I wouldn't know what that is, like, off
Right,
the rip,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So I think that's dope. I got a question for you. Just think about it though. What do you, or who do you like to style more if you had a chance? Would it be musicians or athletes? Who would you have more fun with, you think? Or we could do actresses and actors too. We do Hollywood.
Honestly, you know, if I already had all the, you know, what do you call it, publicity, you know, I had all the.
This is like peak, you know.
Yeah,
This
you know,
is
like peak me.
Yeah.
Definitely musicians, just
Okay.
because I feel like just music and fashion just go hand in hand.
Neck and neck,
You know,
yeah.
yeah, they're like perfect for each other. So, you know, the fact that a lot of musicians already take so much inspiration from fashion is like, you know, I already know that my clothing is gonna be loved by that certain musician, you know? And I've already, you know, had my stroke of luck giving some clothes to, you know, some higher up artists like SZA and Smino, which was great.
You just flexed that like it was nothing. Like, that's dope, man. Congrats for that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you know, it was like small wins for me just because I got it to them, but they never ended up posting it, which is like, you know, semi-hurtful, but I did hear in some of their contracts, they're actually not allowed to wear fan-made stuff, which is interesting to me, but it's just, you know.
That is interesting, though,
yeah,
a little bit.
But, you know, it's not up to them, so obviously I don't hold them to a fault. I'm not like, oh, you're not letting me do this, you know. I'm just like, you know, take it how you take it. I still got it to them, you know, it's in their hands. So
if you had to pick, you know, one or two people that you would want to personally style, who would it be? And this could be any genre, like anybody in music, anybody, you know.
that's a really good question. Damn.
Like this is like, you know, they come to you, like they contact your people. I want to be styled by Shun right now.
I think definitely I would love to do Lil Yachty. because he already has so much love for Michigan and Detroit, as a whole. So definitely Lil Yachty. And I think the other person would honestly have to be Smino, because he's my favorite artist.
Okay, yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, he's a great guy. So definitely those two.
All right, Smino and Yachty. I just seen Yachty in Miami.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was loud. It was dope, man. So, I mean, he'll be back here probably sooner or later, knowing him.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So, what are 3 things that you would say that drives you to like keep doing what you're doing and like to create? Because I know it's like, creative, it could be hard sometimes, having that pushing that edge, and like
Definitely.
you want to always be doing something, but it's sometimes you just can't, get that idea out.
One thing I definitely like to do that pushes me is I like to read a lot. I've been reading this book called The Beauty in Everyday Things, and it's all about my aesthetic of wabi sabi and just having like seeing the imperfection in handmade stuff, and it's obviously that's what I do. It resonates with me, so that's a book I've been in heavily. Number 2 is definitely, I would honestly just have to say, just doing what you like. And one thing I also love doing is cooking. I'm also like kind of a chef. I do love to cook. So cooking, and honestly the third would have to be friends, because without my friends, I wouldn't have the adventures to go on. I wouldn't have just the time to go outside. If it wasn't for the homies and everything, I wouldn't even be out here. So I would literally just be in my house reading, watching a movie, or like cooking or something like that, and not really getting the best, like stroke of like inspiration as I could. Because I feel like, majority of the time when I'm out with friends and other creatives is when I get, like something just hit me. And I'm like,
right,
I gotta write that down. So definitely.
Do you think having friends around you makes you work harder, like, for everything? Because, some people like to work, alone. And, like, I understand that, but, like, having a good team around you always helps you, because as much as you want to admit it, you can't do everything, by yourself. So, like, would you recommend that for, like, other creatives, too, to have a good circle around you?
It really does depend on the friend group, because, you can have totally different friend groups. Like, you have your friends that you goof around with and you can just kind of unplug with, but then you have your other friends who have the same aspirations as you and they're very serious about it. Those are the ones you want to keep around you when creating, because they'll be the best people. Like if I were to be creating right now, I would definitely want these two with me.
Right.
Because they're both also fashion designers, and I can also ask them with questions. Like, if I get stuck with something, a certain silhouette, a certain design, I guarantee you that one of these two will definitely be able to help me get over that little hump.
Okay, cool. That's respect though, man, because like a lot of times, like you see people just like, social media is crazy nowadays.
For sure.
You got circles, and it's like everyone wants to be the top person. Like nobody wants to play a role, which is that's how teams are built. Stuff like that. So I applaud that for you guys here, man.
Thank you.
So the summer's almost over. You're about to head into the fall. Cold weather and all that sad stuff.
Yeah.
What are the goals that you have for the rest of the year?
Honestly, just keep pushing. Keeping my business afloat. I won't lie, it has been a little bit difficult this past. I think honestly this past year I didn't get too many orders and everything, and I feel like people see it as a weakness, but people have their off years, people have their off seasons, and I feel like summer is kind of one of those for me. I think if you ask a lot of fashion designers, you ask them what their their most hated season is, and I think a lot of them will say summer, just because you can't put an outfit on. You're always out there with either just a plain t-shirt and shorts, or just just anything that you feel comfortable in.
Right.
But once the cold hits, you're good. But as far as the fall and everything, I'm definitely looking for new inspiration. I'm actually heading to New York for New York Fashion Week in September, so that'll be interesting. Hopefully I can get a lot of new networks out there, and that's actually the biggest one. New networking and meeting new people and getting them hip to the real fashion of Detroit, you know, which is like me and these guys over here, you know. So, you know, just showing that we're not all just, you know, basic clothing or whatever. You know, we really put our heart and soul into this, and I feel like us as smaller brands, you know, like people that really do put our time in, like, you know, time and
the hard work and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's hard work, you know. I feel like we constantly get overlooked. So, you know, I definitely want to start putting a lot of people on. So I feel like New York is the best place for me to do that, and I can bring them over here. So.
Well, thank you for the interview, bro. You know, it's a lot of, I interview a lot of people, you know, different perspectives, different things like that. But, you know, hearing like just the work ethic, you know, the passion I could tell that you have for it, I applaud that, you know, once again. And tell them where they can find you, you know, Instagram, the website, let them know where they can find you at.
You can find me on Instagram at Shunjiroka and also at Yuri Studios. That's my brand name. And also I have my website, yuristudios.com. And that's where you can find me. And also, thank you so much for letting me do this interview as well.
No doubt,
you know,
man.
I have a lot of fun doing interviews.
No doubt, bro. I'm glad you know, went in depth and, you know, you weren't afraid to answer any questions, stuff like that. So, man.
I love, you know what I'm saying, answering these questions because for one, I'm not a gatekeeper, you know, and another thing, I just love telling my story. So, you know.
Well, thank you, and this has been another episode of Twisted Exclusive Vault Sessions.
Even blow like a whistle, lie to officials. I'll drip it down in crystals if I know you're real. How you geeking out your body off a pink